La chronique du conseil avec Jennifer Barker sur Radio Centre-Ville, 102.3 FM, les comptes à rendre.
Merci Marc-André. Bonjour tout le monde. On a une journée spéciale pour vous ce matin. J'ai comme invité HeidiTaillefer et FranceCantin. En fait, c'est Nadine avec les capsules du V.I.P. qui a FranceCantin avec nous ce matin. Bonjour, bonjour mesdames.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bon matin.
Donc, on va commencer avec France ce matin et puis Nadine, on va vous laisser nous présenter carrément Rose et d'autres événements. Donc, je vous laisse.
Oui, donc, FranceCantin, agente d'artiste et commissaire de l'exposition Carrément Rose de la la campagne de...
C'est une campagne, oui, pour la Fondation de l'Hôpital général juif, spécifiquement pour le cancer du sein.
OK. Et c'est ça. En fait, il va y avoir un événement qui va se passer au mois de mai à la galerie MX. Ça va s'appeler Trash Pink.
Oui, c'est bien ça.
Et puis, qu'est-ce qui va se passer un peu dans...
en fait, c'est une campagne qui vient un peu clôturer la campagne de Carrément Rose qui a duré toute l'année scolaire parce que c'est un projet qui est issu d'élèves du secondaire. En fait, ce qu'on a fait, un des projets que les jeunes avaient monté, c'était de faire des portraits, des portraits roses de personnalités connues. Donc, tout le long de l'année scolaire, il y a eu des photos qui ont été prises de ces artistes-là, en général des artistes, mais aussi des sportifs, des gens connus qui travaillent dans les médias, tout ça. Alors, ces portraits-là vont être mis en vente lors de cette soirée-là. Donc, ça va être tous les profits de ces ventes-là vont être remis, en fait, à la Fondation. Et puis, aussi, il y a une dizaine d'artistes qui ont accepté de donner des œuvres picturales également pour la campagne de financement. Donc, cette soirée-là, en fait, ça va être un encan silencieux avec aussi prestations musicales, DJ, des prestations de peinture en direct, body painting, en fait. Donc, c'est grosso modo, c'est ça. C'est une soirée qui risque d'être assez animée.
OK. Et est-ce que... qui t'a approché, toi, en fait, pour faire ce projet-là?
En fait, c'est Nathalie Claude qui est l'organisatrice de la campagne. En fait, elle m'avait approché d'abord pour la participation d'Ilon à un des portraits. C'est une grande fan de Zilon. Elle est d'origine française depuis qu'elle est à Montréal. Elle suit la carrière de Zilon. C'est une grande, grande fan. Alors, son rêve, c'était d'être peinte par Zilon. Donc, il a fait un body painting en rose sur elle. Ça a été un des portraits roses. Et puis, il avait aussi spontanément, lui, offert une œuvre aussi pour mettre sur le site de la campagne, en fait, pour aider à promouvoir. Et puis, au début, c'était pas vraiment convenu qu'on ferait une exposition d'œuvres à la fin de tout ça. Mais il y a d'autres artistes qui, spontanément, ont donné deux de leurs œuvres en rose. C'est Patricia Klimov et Oma, entre autres. Alors, d'où là est venue l'idée de faire cette espèce de soirée-là de mise en vente des œuvres. Alors, comme on avait déjà des bons contacts, ils m'ont approché pour le faire.
OK, génial. Et puis, Nathalie est professeure à l'école où cette initiative-là a été prise par à peu près 400 jeunes.
Oui, c'est ça, exactement. Nathalie est professeure d'art plastique à l'école Regina Assumpta. Donc, elle a proposé, comme c'est une cause, en fait, qui rejoint tout le monde, parce qu'on connaît tous quelqu'un ou on va connaître quelqu'un dans notre vie qui va être touché par cette maladie-là. Elle a fait un petit sondage auprès de ses élèves et tous avaient quelqu'un ou presque avec quelqu'un dans leur famille qui avait déjà été affecté par le cancer du sein. Donc, ils ont été d'emblée mobilisés autour de ce projet-là. On a sollicité, en fait, leur créativité pour mettre sur pied différentes campagnes de financement au cours de l'année, dont celle des portraits roses.
OK, génial. Et puis, vous êtes associé avec l'Hôpital général juif de Montréal, en fait. Les fonds vont aller pour faire des rénovations, des lieux, des nouveaux équipements.
Exactement. Ça va être spécifiquement pour le centre du sein, en fait, de l'Hôpital général juif, pour acheter, il va être agrandi, puis il va y avoir du nouvel équipement d'acheter, en fait, pour pouvoir accélérer un petit peu les temps d'attente là, pour avoir finalement des tests là, pour les femmes ou parfois les hommes aussi qui ont des masses au sein. Donc, ça va accélérer de beaucoup là, le processus.
OK. Bon, génial. Est-ce que tu veux peut-être nommer les artistes qui vont participer?
Oui, bien sûr. Écoutez, comme je disais, il va y avoir du body painting, donc par Zilon et Laurie Hamel, qui est une jeune artiste très talentueuse de Trois-Rivières. Il va y avoir en prestation musicale le groupe Mad June, qui est un groupe rock qui est formé
100% féminin.
100% féminin, effectivement. Et pour le reste de la soirée, on a DJ Mini qui va assurer l'ambiance musicale. Pour ce qui est du visuel, on va avoir des œuvres à vendre de Zilon, comme je disais, Oma, Patricia Klimov, Penno, Caroline Jean, Yann Gamache, Sébastien Godette, Nadine Samuel, quelqu'un qu'on connaît bien, Anne Smart, Melissa Montagne, Steve Lévesque et Cédric Taillon. Donc, une belle brochette d'artistes de la relève qui font du travail super intéressant. Et les œuvres vont toutes être avec la même palette de couleurs, en fait, du rose, noir et blanc. Donc, c'est un petit défi particulier là, qui pour se conformer au visuel de la campagne depuis le début.
Surtout pour certains qui peignent
vraiment dark. Oui, c'est ça, exactement.
Génial. Puis l'événement aura lieu le 14 mai à la galerie MX.
C'est ça, c'est au 333, l'avenue Vigée-Ouest. C'est juste en face du Palais des Congrès, en fait. Donc, à partir de 17h30 jusqu'à 21h. Et les billets vont être autour de 20 $. Mais en fait, 20 $ avec les taxes, exactement.
OK. Il nous reste 2 petites minutes. On peut peut-être parler de ton blog, La Voix est libre, parce que France aide beaucoup les artistes de la relève, essaie de les tenir informés des recours qu'ils ont pour développer leur carrière. Donc, tu tiens un blog?
Oui, je tiens un blog parce que je me suis rendu compte en parlant justement avec beaucoup d'artistes quand j'ai commencé à faire ce métier-là qu'il n'y avait comme pas de ressources, en fait, de savoir comment gérer sa propre carrière, comment faire sa promo. Beaucoup de gens qui avaient des frustrations, des mauvaises expériences avec des galeries ou des événements. Donc, c'est important, je pense, de donner des outils à ces jeunes artistes-là, des fois pas si jeunes que ça, mais de vraiment prendre leur carrière en main et de finalement réussir à en vivre si c'est possible, oui.
Et pour trouver le blog, c'est où qu'on trouve le blog?
Ben c'est sur wordpress.com. En fait, c'est wordpress.lavoixestlibre.com.
Okay. Alors, on va mettre le lien sur le site de la chronique du conseil. Et puis, tu es aussi consultante et organisatrice d'événements privés et publics et relationniste pour des événements.
Oui, c'est ça. Ben écoutez, je travaille comme agente d'artiste, donc ça comporte souvent plusieurs chapeaux à mettre, comme quand on est un artiste soi-même. Donc, je fais de la relation de presse. Je travaille principalement pour Zilon. Donc, je fais ces relations de presse, je gère ses contrats, ses événements, tout ce qui a attrait au développement de sa carrière, demande de subventions, choses comme ça. Au niveau des événements, j'ai déjà organisé, évidemment, des vernissages, des choses comme ça pour des groupes d'artistes, trouver des locaux, trouver des subventions, des commanditaires. Donc, c'est large, en fait, ce qu'on a à toucher dans ce métier-là, souvent.
Ben merci. Ben, je te remercie. C'est vraiment génial de ta part de venir nous parler de cet événement.
Merci de me recevoir. Et puis, on espère vous voir en grand nombre. Puis, on peut aussi donner à la campagne Carrément Rose sur le site.
Ah oui, c'est vrai. Il y a l'équipe de FranceCantin. En fait, vous pouvez aller voir sur le site.
C'est sur carrémentrose.tumblr, là, je ne sais jamais comment le dire, .com. Là. Oui, c'est ça. Donc, c'est facile à trouver si vous faites Carrément Rose sur Google. Ça apparaît tout de suite.
Parfait. Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Merci, France. Pour plus de détails, on va toutes les mettre sur la chronique du conseil, sur le Facebook. On va vous donner les liens, comment rejoindre France, etc. Donc, merci. Bon. Donc, on va passer à un petit moment musical. On a un groupe de Montréal. Ça s'appelle Power Up First, de l'album The Outcome. On va commencer avec The Opening, qui est le titre de la chanson. On vous revient dans quelques minutes. Donc, on est de retour après cette pause musicale. C'était the opening de l'album The Outcome avec Power Up First. Une petite tourne courte, mais bon, to the point. Bon, en parlant de l'anglais, on va commencer. On va faire une entrevue en anglais aujourd'hui. On a une invitée spéciale avec nous, HeidiTaillefer. Bonjour, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. So, how about we can start by giving a little bit about yourself?
Okay, that's a really broad question.
So let's say, where are you from? Are you from Montreal?
Yeah, from Montreal, the West Island originally. I was born in, I grew up in Beaconsfield, and then I moved into the city when I was about 20 years old, or 21, and I've always lived here.
Okay.
So now I live in Myland.
So in Myland, so you're from the area. That's very good. So am I.
Yeah.
So have you always painted?
I started painting when I was 8, but I've always drawn. Like, I literally started drawing as soon as I could pick anything up and make a line, and then it just never stopped. My mother is an artist, and she studied at École des Beaux-Arts, so she was really supportive in that, and she gave us crayons and really encouraged creativity and paper, collages, anything really that we could get our hands onto. She just let us do it. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
So what kind of work have you been working on lately? Are you have anything special?
Lately I've been working on sculptural pieces, which are basically, the idea came from, I wanted to do a doll, and I wanted to base it on Eros. And I wanted to explore the theme of Eros and all of the manifestations that it takes. So Eros being love, basically, it's like it explores all the kind of the variations and the colors of love as they show themselves, but they're not all necessarily like good or positive. So there can be anything from jealousy to revenge, anger, hopefulness, wishful thinking. There's kind of just unabashed expression of love or affection. There's homicidal love. There's all different varieties that are in this. So the idea was to try and do as many different versions, which is basically infinite, because depending on, like everybody feels, at anything in the spectrum of love, which isn't necessarily true love, and there will be one that is true love, but I'm not going to say what it is.
Oh, can't wait to see that one. Is this inspired by anybody's work, or
no, actually it was inspired because I wanted to design a toy or a doll, and I was in New York in 2009, and I met up with a former inventor and toy designer, and we were talking about different ideas, and then about a year later I thought about doing a cherub. And I thought, well, what about making a cherub doll that would be able to change its costuming and just, take on a different attitude, like the Cro-Magnon holding a woman's, hair, the abuser, let's say. Or the other one is misunderstood love. So in this case, I took a historical figure, which was Wu Zetian, a Chinese empress who was really badly maligned, and pegged as one of the cruelest women in history, whereas she was actually a really, she was an efficient, effective ruler who, did nothing bad in her life, and there were no attempts on her life, and she just, ruled for 15 years and abdicated the throne, but she was the best one for the job at the time. And yet, after in history, her male counterparts decided to smear her reputation for being a woman. So that type of thing is represented. There's the lie, the false idol, all of these things. And so the potential is basically limitless. And the idea was to produce a prototype. And then in the process, there's been a lot of winding variations. Like I wanted to go to doll manufacturers or toy manufacturers, and there always seemed to be something wrong, or the budgets were too high. So I ended up, I had started sculpting one. I sculpted a master model in clay by hand. Like I'd ordered a book from Japan on ball joint doll making, and based my design on that kind of technology, which is not, it's like a really old style, like a very vintage way of making a doll with a string that holds all the parts together with an inner tension. And then I wanted to make duplicates of this. So I ended up having to learn how to make molds out of silicone and then find a material to be able to cast these things out of powder. Like, it's really, really painstaking, and I don't know what I'm doing at all. So, like,
who does?
It's
You know,
totally,
we just do it.
Oh yeah, it's totally. It's just touch and go, and like the learning process itself is comic. Like, it's funny to see all the failures and all of the hit and misses and stuff, but it works, right? Like, in the end, it's been a long time now. I think I've been working on this for a year and a quarter by now, but all the costuming is done by hand. All the dolls are basically painted with oil, and so they kind of are basically like porcelain dolls, and then there are eyelashes that are glued on, and the eyes are made out of the same material, which is actually hydrocal, which is the same thing that dentists will use to make a mold of your teeth. But then, like, the eyes are all kind of shaped and rounded, and I use crystalline spray, Krylon spray to, you know, really smoothen out textures and stuff. It's really crazy painstaking and stuff. Anyways, so these are molded, painted, assembled, glued together. The only thing is that none of these are actually functional at this stage. So none of them is a working prototype, but they're now art pieces that will be part of an upcoming exhibition on the theme of Eros.
Very good.
Yeah.
So, talking about exhibitions, where have you shown your work lately? Like, I've seen internationally you here and there in museums, but galleries, are you with galleries and...
Right now, I have one representative gallery in Pittsburgh, and he has some of my work. There's not that much that's with him. A lot of it has come back, but it's kind of been touring around. Like, I showed work in Warsaw last year, and I showed work at the Santa Ana Center for the Arts, and then I showed work in Tallahassee, Florida, at the Florida State Museum. The Florida State University Museum of Art. And so I've been showing in different galleries in Los Angeles, and I have a couple of upcoming shows in the next month and a half or so in New York. So one is in Chelsea and the other is in Queens. And I've been showing in group shows for the most part. And as far as, you know, galleries, I guess the idea was to try and participate in as many, show opportunities as possible and just kind of circulate around. And the other thing is that I got really busy with commercial contracts and sort of combining or applying the art to commercial purposes. Like with Infinity, I had done 2 Infinity art cars, one of them in Montreal, and then the other one in Taiwan. So
this is for circus, eh?
This is for Cirque du Soleil, yeah. So it was for their 25th anniversary, but also for Infinity's 20th anniversary. 20th anniversary. And they were both celebrating those respective anniversaries at the same time. They decided to do a project together. It was actually Infinity's main project. So Infinity Taiwan had seen this, and then they had already seen all the, you know, YouTube videos and the publicity. And Taiwan is really fond of celebrity culture, so they will pay. They just want you if you're known for. Well, not that that's all they want, but largely, in a large sense, that they really love that. So they asked me to do a second one, and they really, you know, were adamant that it be me, and they didn't even care what I did. They said, just because it was kind of a really tight time constraint, they just said it has to be you, and that's it.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, and I did something else for the Cirque's 25th anniversary. They were vignettes of the first 25 shows of the Cirque, trying to summarize each one. Anyway, and so that took a long time. So I really got busy with a lot of commercial contracts, sort of in and among all of that. So it makes it more difficult to participate in gallery shows or, you know, really sort of sustain that, whatever the requirements are from a representative gallery.
And is this in the direction that you would like your work to go in the future as well?
The direction that I would like my work to go in the future, painting-wise, would be an evolution based on what I'm already working on. Because what I do now is a representation of, it's sort of a hybridization of technology and biology. And I've been doing that for 20 years almost, but they started out as robots, and then they became sort of symbolic, kind of like kitsch, you know, an assembly of a whole bunch of different items put together. And then they became a bit more classical, and they went, you know, to biomechanical, or sort of a hybridization. And it really really actually improved in substance in the last 5 or 6 years. The work simplified a lot, but the content of the work became a lot more complex, and there's a much greater depth to it. But the style keeps evolving, and it just sort of explores a lot of different, I guess, flavors in style or languages of style. But the next one, what I would like to do is I would like to play with the idea of relativity in proportion, like in the universe, in reality, that size, this sounds funny, that size doesn't matter, but like there is no such thing as proportion. Like there is and there isn't. So it really, the idea is to get into sort of a smaller, like quantum level of things, accessing the technology of physics, on the smallest level of all, and then how it applies to our reality in the real world, but to illustrate that in an image. So it's still technology, but it's kind of like technology on the smallest level, and then really trying to play with that in terms of how it actually is reflected in our reality, which we just take for granted. We see things as it is, but really to get to the behind the scenes of the structure of reality, which sounds like,
I think you're getting a little deep for certain
I
our
know. Anyway, I don't even know. I mean, I kind of have a sense of how this will look, but.
Well,
anyway.
we're all very curious. We can't wait to see what this will look like.
Yeah.
And what are your various influences that could? Oops. Okay. So what are your influences or side interests for the art?
Well, basically, what informs my work is my life experience. I have a really interesting life. Like it's, I'm really solitary. I mean, I'm sociable, but I really spend a lot of time alone, just working on what I do. But when I am out and about, it just seems to have an impact, or there seems to be a lot of monumental things that happen at kind of semi-regular intervals that keep things interesting, but it also helps fuel the ideas for the work. In the past, I was trying to contemplate, these things that would happen in my life, to try and understand them better. But then what I was doing is I was perpetuating it. So, and then I realized that it's just physics, and I seem to really attract what I focus on very strongly. So the point would then be to paint forward and paint what you want to happen instead of keeping, the mess going. Let's say if you were trying to, understand a problem. But I don't remember what you said now.
Okay, we were talking about what informs your work.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so life, circumstances, love especially. So if I have somebody special in my life, they tend to be kind of the highlight of, the series of work or whatever, my center of focus. So then it will kind of revolve largely around that. It's a very, love is very important to me. And it's complex also with me, so it gives a lot of material to work with. And then recently, I've been trying to learn about the Kabbalah, which has a lot to do with the work that I want to do regarding quantum elements or physics, like the technology of physics and miniaturization, because I think that's where everything's going to go. Like everything will be downsized to the point where it's going to have to enter into the realm of quantum physics, quantum computing, quantum mechanics. It already kind of is with carbon. Like they use, they're going to replace, what is it? Like in nanotechnology, they use graphene or, sort of a sheet of carbon, basically, that is 1 atom thick. And then if you roll it into a certain shape, it kind of develops its own properties. Yeah, like mechanical properties that can be adapted, for use.
Situations, yeah.
Yeah, with the human body. So the biggest thing that I keep hearing about now is nanotechnology. And then I'd done a painting on that like a few years ago because of 3 minutes. Okay. Anyway, so now it's the Kabbalah, and then I'm just trying to study what it's all about and then see how that is used as a mechanism or as a type of technology, but through the mind, and then, how it affects reality, and then hopefully that will be incorporated into my work. Yeah.
So for people that want to see the work, because I know we're on the radio right now, but you can go to the cover. There's your website. What?
Right now my website. It should be up. There was a glitch. Anyway, with something or another, so it should be up. Otherwise, my work is visible on Facebook. I have a public public
Account.
page. Yeah, I think that, and the dolls are on there. They're not completed images because those will only really be shown in an exhibition, but you see the beginnings of them, you see some of the working process, and then you see samples of my work.
Okay, so your website is, even though there's a glitch?
www.HeidiTaillefer.com.
Okay, good. And I'll write that up for everybody.
Yeah.
So I have 2 quick questions left. So the
Okay.
first one, any upcoming shows?
So I'll be having a show at, in New York, in Chelsea, at, oh my God, I forget the name of it. I can't believe there's a group show called Suggestivism.
With the La Roche Gallery?
No, I'll be having a show with La Roche Gallery. Well, we're talking about that now. Okay. So I will be showing a piece at the Paper Fair, which I think is happening in May. I know that I sound really disorganized about this. It's just I'm really focused on the dolls, and I'm really, really busy with many things. La Roche Gallery, which is slated for the fall, but we're still discussing that at this stage. And then at... oh my God! I can't believe Anyway, I'm just.
But we'll have all the details on the Facebook and all.
Check. There's just a lot going on, all at the same time.
So we'll keep up with the information. Just come on the Chronique du Conseil on Facebook. We'll have everything, some work of Heidi, and everything will be there.
Okay.
I don't know if I have time for one last quick question. Who would you be able to compare your work with historically?
Historically, Max Ernst, who incorporated disparate elements together, which put together represented a general idea, but apart they had no particular meaning. And Giorgio Di Chirico, who was really interested in metaphysical painting, so he would transform the meaning of everyday objects and make them symbols of something specific. Usually, in his case, it was something melancholy like fear or alienation or uncertainty. And then another would be Paul Delvaux, who was really concerned with the hidden or deeper elements of the human experience.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
And if you have any more things you'd like to tell anybody on the Facebook, people will be
on
touching in base just to see if you have anything else. I think there's a VIP coming up. Nadine, voulais-tu dire de quoi?
Je peux peut-être inviter les gens à venir au prochain VIP le 5 avril. Les Bleus vont affronter les Noirs. Puis ensuite, ça va être les finales. Donc, vous êtes bienvenus. Fêter le printemps en couleur.
C'est la dernière de la série officielle. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Merci Nadine. Merci France. Merci Heidi.
Thank you.
Oui, l'événement Trash Pink. Excusez-moi, mon Dieu. Les portraits roses. Le 14 mai 2012 à la Galerie MX au 33 Vigée, l'événement Trash Pink aura lieu pour la campagne carrément rose. Excusez.
Merci tout le monde. Bonne journée. Merci Marc-André.